So anyway, while I am waiting for that video to upload that I made yesterday about my tooth experience, I feel pretty good about things. I'm feeling real mellow. I'm relaxed. The pain in my face is minimal. I didn't even really get any swelling from it or anything like that. And naturally, something else bizarre happened because that is the nature of living here, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's in the water in the building. I don't know. But on October 18th, that was the day. It's November 1st right now. My foster brother's birthday. But October 18th was the day that I went up and pounded on the people's door and said that there was water coming down, and I just wanted to know, if it was a pipe or an overflow, or I want to know what was going on. And they wouldn't answer the door, and they wouldn't talk to me through the door, and I smelled crack, if you're familiar with that story. So I was up anyway, and I figured that Roy, the dude in the wheelchair, heard me. So I went and knocked on his door and started talking to him, and he was like, "No, I didn't hear none of that." He's like, "I didn't hear none of you yelling, or I didn't hear any of that knocking or anything like that." So I told him the story about how there was water dripping, and all I wanted to know was a simple question, and I also used the opportunity to offer him the use of my scooter so he could see if it would work for him, because he has enough money to save up for one if he would like to do that. So I wrote to him after I got back down in the house on the 18th when this happened. I said, it died down, so most likely it wasn't a pipe but an overflow. Walking up those steps hurt. Illegal guests don't answer doors or questions about doors, I guessed. Just wanted to know if it was a pipe. Thanks for helping out. And he wrote back, I sent Michelle a text about it and haven't heard back. Now, let's see the date on this one. Um, uh, this says it. I don't see a date on this one, but it says Friday 4:36. He writes me. I think it might have been the same day. I think it was the same day. So this is probably still October 18th. He writes, she told me today that the tub looks like it's about to go through the floor. She claims to have told Gerald, but he hasn't been around. Please let me know if you're still getting any water leaking. I don't understand why I have to bark to get him to move on anything around here. Please keep me posted. And I wrote back on the same, immediately. No water since that one day. I'll keep you posted. And then he gave me a thumbs up. So now, let's fast forward. Let's see, from the 18th to the 31st. It's a difference of about 13 days. There's like 3 people living up there. So I hear dripping in the ceiling. And, for whatever reason, and because I like to keep my word, because I just like to, when I can, I wrote him, I said, you asked, so I think I hear dripping in the bedroom ceiling. Check that, definitely. Uh, Maybe text her. Chris is over you, so I'm not sure if it will affect you, but you asked, and I said I'd tell you. And he wrote back, he'll be pissed again. The beer cans are still there, and I texted Gerald yesterday. He said he would text him. Then this is Roy now. He says, I just sent a text to Michelle. I'll let you know what she comes back with. And I wrote, hell, they wouldn't reply when I limped upstairs last time you saw me, but it's already slowing down. And then he writes, she just confirmed she was just using the shower. And then he writes, it doesn't matter if it's slowing down, the tub is coming your way if nothing is done about it. So he's believing this crackhead that the tub is coming through. How do you put it? Uh, that the tub is coming through the ceiling. I was looking at the way he worded it. She told me that the tub looks like it's about to go through the floor. I guess he's never heard of exaggeration or how people like to make drama, but he's about to make some. So I wrote something. I was, while he was writing that, I was writing something about the scooter because I thought maybe he'd like, while I'm racked up, laying in bed recovering from this, I thought he'd like to mess with the scooter. And I read that about the tub coming through the ceiling, and I wrote Gerald's Revenge, and I put laugh out loud. And I said, I got watermarks and holes all over my bedroom ceiling. It's been a problem since Carrie of the Nice Tits lived here. That's at least 5 years ago. In one ear and out the other with Gerald if it involves his wallet. And Roy wrote, I'll stay on him. You know he won't do anything without max pressure. He said he wished you would have texted him. I said, I just had 5 teeth pulled and I'm high on tramadol right now. He doesn't want that. I already told him only communication with us from now on is monetary. And Roy writes back, Gerald asked for your number. Go ahead and text him. I said, fuck him. Don't give him my number. He fucked any relationship we had in 2018, letting a meth trade flourish here. And then Roy said, do you want something done about it? Or just wait for the tub to come down into your apartment? While he was writing that, I wrote about how he knew that I thought that he was responsible for crime that went down here, and so he never told me to call the police. Because I'll just read you what I wrote. I said, and knowing I believed he was responsible for the crime here during the crack trade, but never telling me to call the police. Why? Blood money, meth, and crack money spends good. Michelle already told him you said that anyway, about the tub. I said, let the tub come on down. And he's like, all he wrote was, wow. And he was quiet for a long time. And I asked him some questions about if the dog barking was bothering him because she's got a dog. And then I wrote, he already knows the problem. So why tell him what he already knows? I mean, hell, he knows buildings and water damage better than us. And you said Michelle told him. And he knows for sure now. So why aggravate myself? Water issues in bedroom been going on for years. I've been complaining for years. Whoever is in the tub should worry. They'll get hurt for sure. In other words, if the tub falls through the ceiling and somebody's in the tub, they're the ones that should be worried about it. And I said, not just high talk, referring to myself, because I said I was on tramadol. There's nothing illogical in what I'm saying. That's if you're right and Gerald knows. But I'm out of here. Just reporting water, as you requested. Later, Roy. And Roy writes back, and you just told him you didn't have a leak? Roy misunderstood. What the fuck, dude? And the reason why he wrote that is because he made me talk to Gerald. Because he told Gerald about the leak, as he put it. So he forced me to talk to Gerald. So let's switch over to the Gerald conversation. And he forced me to talk to Gerald, which, I was like, I'm not talking to him again. But so Gerald writes me, Steve, so Roy texted that you have a leak in your apartment. The way to access it is through your bedroom. Now, this is like 26 hours, and I'm all high, laying in bed, relaxed. I just 5 teeth freshly pulled out of my head. And he's talking about having workers come in my bedroom and go through my ceiling. And this guy's just bored, or it has nothing to do with him. So I don't even know what Whatever. But this is what he wrote. So Roy texted me and he said the way to access it is through your bedroom. Can you tell me if it's a continuous leaking or just occasionally like a few weeks ago? Or has it been leaking the whole time? I need to get a plumber in your place to check it out. And I wrote, I don't have a leak. Roy misunderstood. He said, no leak coming from the apartment above you? You told Roy and Michelle, and they both texted me about it. And I said, no, I didn't. And I said, I'm bored with this nonsense. You two can sort this out. Michelle started it. Ask her. Leave me alone. I got a bad heart, and now I have to take blood pressure pills. And at this point, my hands are like shaky and shit because I'm angry about being bothered about this nonsense because this has nothing at all to do with this guy. He and I'll explain to you how it all started and the stupidity of living here. So, anyway, we'll go back to Roy. Now, Roy was mad because I said that he misunderstood what I said. And so he's like, and you just told him you don't have a leak? And Roy misunderstood. What the fuck, dude? I said nothing is leaking or it would keep leaking. Pipes just don't stop leaking. They're just overflowing shit. I'm gonna tell you what I told Gerald. Michelle started this. I got a bad heart and now have to take blood pressure pills. Just for keeping my word after Michelle complained to you. So I'm turning this phone off. And he says, be a dick, man. Smart move. Then he writes, she was taking a shower when you said you had a leak. Some shower down the road and it's coming down on you. And don't ever bullshit about me again. You will pay. That's one strike. You only get two. And I'm a dirty fucker. That's what he wrote. I wrote, laugh out loud. Let's be enemies. Are you that bored? There's a difference between hitting a ceiling and an actual... There's a difference between water hitting a ceiling and an actual plumbing issue. If it was a plumbing issue, a pipe, it would be constant. If it's a shower drain issue every time, they, and I put in capital letters, that's they, he should be more worried about illegal people living up there, took a shower, I'd hear water hit the ceiling every time. I don't. I said, I'm sorry you're bored or having a bad day, but you aren't even getting your own story straight, or you're confusing an inferior intellect. Gerald, I never told Michelle anything. Whoever was there never answered the door, probably because I smelled crack. Not sure she was even home. Be pissed if you want, but I can't explain it any better than I have. Not sure why you are even interested. Boredom is a bitch, I guess. I said, if you reread this, I said drip, not leak. There's a difference. And I said first comment. In other words, in the first comment, I said there was water dripping, hitting my ceiling. So so that upset me. Because I'm getting involved in nonsense. And I said later, this is like 11:49 p.m. So I did turn off the phone and just threw it aside and just was like, right after that, my best friend called and I'm like, oh man, it's funny, you got weird timing, and because I'm all like irritated and spun out and stuff right now. And I explained to him why. But then later on, at night, I turned the phone back on at 11:49. I said, to be clear, I said water dripping. I didn't say nothing about no leak. How could I know if there's a leak up there? Just because water is dripping doesn't mean there's a leak. If I spill water in like my bathroom, like I have many times, it will leak into the basement. They spill water like they overflow the toilet upstairs before. it will leak, it will drip on top of my ceiling. Okay, so I'm trying to explain this to Roy, who I have no idea what his deal is anyway, or what, he's just. So I said, to be clear, I said water dripping. Gerald said, I told Roy and Michelle, and I got this in quotation marks. He said that I told Roy and Michelle there was a leak. I said a spilled bucket or an overflowed toilet can cause dripping. It's why I knocked on the door upstairs that day to ask whether it was a plumbing issue or an overflow. All I smelled was crack being smoked, and there was no answer. I never said leak to you. I never talked to Michelle at all. I never called you a liar. I said you misunderstood, which you did. But really, it's no different than the dozen or more other times you don't know about where water dripped on my hanging ceiling. There's one way to know if it's a plumbing issue, and that's wait in the room. In other words, wait in the room to see if it stops dripping. If it stops dripping and there's no more dripping, that means it's not a bad pipe. If you're in the room and it only happens after a shower, that means that maybe one of the drain pipes for the shower has a crack in it or something. So I said that's twice in 2 weeks, and that's a lot of showers in between. So it's probably not even a drain leak, which is different than a constant pipe leak. I put your concern for my welfare is touching, but unnecessary. And then I wrote, just felt further exposition may be helpful. And he hasn't wrote me back. But it just got nothing to do with him. I mean, it's got nothing to do with him. So, like, thanks for fucking up. I got some nice mellow, some nice peace going on, and I'm the guy that made the fuck up for talking to him in the first place. But I did tell him, like, he said if there was a leak. Now, there's no way for me to tell if it's a leak or not. But I just, didn't think that it would turn into what it turned into with me having to talk to Gerald, which made me very upset. I wrote, that there was water dripping and hitting the ceiling. And it may be a shower drain issue because, like, it was real late. They take showers late, like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And there was more dripping, so it might be a shower drain issue. But I don't care. I'll let the whole ceiling fall in. I don't care. And, it's like, I think Michelle, this was a while ago, but Michelle, I do remember her talking to Chris, I think, on the porch and saying that it looks like my tub's going to come through the ceiling or something, but I told Gerald about it, but he doesn't seem to care. And, so why, this guy wants to start this nonsense, I don't know, but he apparently he only gives out 2 strikes, so I'm on my last strike, or I got an enemy. Oh no. How terrifying. But yeah, reading people texts are always boring, is because texting, there's never good writing in texting because it's it's just so hard, especially with large people, and he has bigger hands than me, as to text well. And it's no fun, so you try to do it in as short a manner as possible. So, but yeah, I was just sitting there minding my own business, and so I'm keeping my word, and I'm just telling him that there's water hitting the ceiling, which he is assuming is a leak because he doesn't understand the concept of, like, any water spilled, any large amount. Wow, it don't even have to be a large amount of water. You could, like, tip over a gallon of milk, and it could run through cracks and drip onto a ceiling. Now there was a pretty large amount of water that on the 18th of October, enough to me to think, to march up the steps. But that was just some dripping yesterday. And the ceiling held. I mean, I was kind of like looking for spots on the ceiling to see, if how much water was up there or whatever. But I don't care. I'm thinking, I'm gonna ask my friend to help me, but I probably won't be able to do it without my friend's help. But I'm thinking about just going ahead with the escrow thing and paying this month's rent in escrow. But he'd have to give me a ride to Maslin. Um, I think it's the county. Maybe it's the Maslin clerk's office. It's like the county clerk's office or something like that. He knows about it though because he's a policeman, and they did it to his dad, and he's the guy that told me about it. So if he'll help me do that, I'll just go ahead and put my rent in escrow. If and go ahead and inconvenience myself, and you know, if he wants to raise, I'm on a month-to-month lease, so if I do this in November, and he wants to give me the Christmas present of raising my rent, say $200 or whatever, for making him fix up stuff he should be fixing up anyway. That's fine. I can't get any workers in here because of I could have, but I was just like, look, my caseworker's just lying to you, more or less. I didn't say those words, but they were like, oh, we can come in your house and help clean up your house now. And I'm like, there's more bed bugs in his house now than there was like months ago. And I was talking like the day of the dentist. I was talking to the war vet upstairs, and he was like, he's still seeing bugs after the first spraying, and he said something about him coming back and spraying again in 15 days, which isn't even the proper incubation period. And it's like, I looked it up, it's supposed to be 21 days, you know, because that's when they hatch again, is 21 days. That's how long it takes for the eggs to hatch. That's just like standard if you're a professional and you work for a real company, a bonded company. So yeah, I'm thinking about. I might call him today and ask him if he'll help me with that. You know, pay, just put my rent in escrow, and then my landlord won't be able to touch it until he fixes everything in here, and that should keep him busy. And this place is just such a freaking disaster that you know, my worry is like, I'm just gonna shoot myself in the foot, or they're gonna be like, you can't take care of yourself. It's like, no, it's not a matter I can't take care of myself. It's like I can't have aid workers in here because of the bed bug situation, which may spill over, since it's like a big house. It may spill over into the city, say, doing the whole building. Maybe I'll talk to Chris and see if get Chris involved. But what really should happen with this building is, like, instead of Roy starting up some stupid fight with me over leak and drip, is all of us should be getting together and we should all pay our rent in escrow and um, make Gerald fix everything in here, make him pay through the nose. But yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I was thinking about last night while I was listening to the water drip on the ceiling. It's like I can't seem to catch a break. It's like not even for like a day, because I just had my teeth, five of my teeth pulled out. I'm feeling pretty good laying in bed. I don't know exactly what I was occupying myself with at the time, but I just had the water start dripping in the ceiling, and I'm like, oh, that figures. So I was like, oh yeah, I told Roy that if I heard water dripping in the ceiling, I remembered that, from 2 weeks earlier. I was like, yeah, I told him I'd tell him if there was a leak. But really, what I should have done is I didn't think about it because I gave him credit for more brains than he has, or maybe he just wanted to start a fight with somebody. I don't know. But I should have told him I don't know if it's a leak. I should have explained it like all right at the beginning, but I didn't think I needed to explain it because I kind of figured that people understood. I just assume that people understand gravity, and that like if you spill a large amount of water, it's got to go somewhere, and gravity pulls things down, and they're above me. So like even if they overflow a toilet, it's going to drip down on top of my ceiling. You know, even if they were like left the sink running and overflow the sink, or like what I did, I don't know how many times, too many times, is I got a thing called a Wonder Wash that I wash my clothes in. That's just like a big barrel, because I don't have laundry facilities. And I put the hose in there, and I tape the hose down, and I'll forget about it because it takes so long to fill up. And I'll overflow that to the point where there's water running all over the floor, and I'm sure it's dripped in the basement like many times, but not really a plumbing issue. So, anyways, that happened, and good Lord, yeah, reading those texts makes it a long story, but it gives you a more accurate description of what's going on. But why he can't travel upstairs, so why is he taking this crazy woman's word that her tub is actually coming through the bathroom floor? You know, it's like um, people exaggerate. People like drama. It probably like maybe she's got a clawfoot tub, and like maybe one of the foot is sunk into the floor a little bit. And I wonder how that happens. That happens from moisture. It happens from, I don't know, people overflowing things. So yeah, I don't get a freaking minute's peace. So I think I'm gonna try to get a hold of Sam today, and oops, I guess it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna edit it out his name. I think I'm gonna get a hold of him and ask him to help me put my rent in escrow, and we'll see if he has nerve enough to raise my rent. Hey, somebody, which one of these phones said something? Oh, now Roy texts me. You want to hear what he said? Here you go. Here's what he said. He said, uh, he just texted this. If there's a drip every time she takes a shower, the escalations of permanent damage grows, which the landlord should be made aware of so it can be fixed and avoid greater damage to the building or even you. Why did you hobble up the stairs? The bottom line here is you don't want Gerald in your apartment because of your ignorant beef with him. I'm done with you, man. Don't ever try to throw me under the bus because you're a pussy. So, there. Yeah. He's calling me a pussy, huh? Yeah. He's rolling around in a wheelchair calling me a pussy. He's too afraid to even borrow an electric chair to see if that'll work for him. And, what do you think I should write back to him? I'll write back, that's cool, man. All right, that's cool, man. Let's be done with each other. Let's be done with each other and never speak to each other again. This is why texting sucks. I'll put have a nice life. Yeah. So I put that's cool. Let's be done with each other and never speak to each other again. Have a nice life. And what's funny is he calls my beef with Gerald ignorant. You know, there was a flourishing crack trade and a flourishing meth trade here. The dudes had packages stolen in the mail from those days. You know, so this kind of shit though, it makes my hands shake. It makes me nervous because I got anxiety and I'm already on edge. But whatever, you know, don't care. I'll be leaving here pretty soon. You know, so I'll be getting out of here one way or another pretty soon. So that's fine. I like the way he called it an ignorant beef. It's like, dude, don't. He's so doped out of his mind. He wasn't even aware that there was a meth trade here. He wasn't aware that there was a meth cookhouse across the street. You know, he whatever, man. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Anyways, so that's enough of that boring nonsense. But that's not what I need. But I think I told him yesterday that I just had 5 teeth pulled, and yeah, yeah, I think I did tell him that in there that I had 5 teeth pulled. So he only cares about himself. Let's go ahead and bother the guy that's just had 5 teeth pulled, and you know. Oh, that's what. Yeah, he was telling me that I should text Gerald. I said Gerald doesn't want me to text him. I just had 5 teeth pulled, and I'm full of tramadol. And he doesn't want me to text him, so he knew that I had 5 teeth pulled. So he figured, that's a good time to uh, jump all over me and cause me a bunch of grief about stuff that frankly has nothing to do with him. So, you know, it doesn't matter, man. This place is in an insane asylum. It really, it has been for like many, many years now. Uh, Not at first when Gerald took over the building, but within a couple of years of him taking over the building, he just kind of gave up and just started renting to whoever. And like I said, when we had good tenants here, he didn't make them welcome because of his own cheapness. Like what I said about when we had beautiful women living upstairs, and all they wanted was like the use of him to turn on the outside hose so they could wash their cars and wash the house. They would wash the house by hand sometimes, and the porch and keep it clean and stuff. And um, so yeah, it's whatever. If what's he gonna do? He's gonna talk shit to Gerald about me. It's like Gerald calls him a high maintenance tenant, and he always tells me he's like, I've never had a complaint about you, and Gerald knows that I always pay the rent on time, and that I'm all I when before I figured out what a scumbag he was, I would keep him apprised of all the situations in the building. I was keeping him apprised of like the crack dealing situation in the building, and he was just kind of like nodding his head, like, yeah, 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 instead of telling me like you should call the police, because he knew, like I said, that I thought that he was responsible for criminal activity in this building when he's not. Landlord can't be held responsible for criminal activity that goes down from his building. So, but anyways, so I lost another dear friend. I'm even more isolated than I was before. How shall I ever survive? Anyways, well, bye bye. I just thought that you might find that amusing. And thanks, Roy, for cooperating and texting me while I'm actually making a video. It's very helpful. That was rather convenient. So, um, I'll talk to you next time. If I do pay the rent and escrow, I'll let you know. We'll see how that goes. Um, that's probably, I think that's what I'm going to do, though. I think Sam will help me do that. Um, and yeah, if Roy's worried about the place collapsing or whatever, or, you know, uh, getting the place fixed, that'll get the place fixed. So, but no, I won't talk to that son bitch again. He's just some miserable guy in a wheelchair who I've always been nice to. Who you know, I've always like he'll like helped out. Who actually I saved him from being stuck out in the cold. That one time where he was just stuck out in the cold, and I pushed him in the wheelchair, and he grabbed the ramp and pulled without telling me that he was pulling. And then I fell down really hard on the ice, but he would have just been stuck out there last winter in the cold. There's even a video about that where I tell that story, which I'll put a link to just for the hell of it in this, and tell you where I tell that story. So it's just another person that I'm nice to that, you know, takes a dump on me uh, just because I don't know, they're bored or they feel mean, or maybe the dope man. Because he was asking me about finding, and he said, "Do you know anybody that sells good weed?" He was asking me the other day. So, you know, he must be having some kind of issues with his dope man. So, you know, he's asking me for connections. And I'm like, no, you know, I do know some people, but I just said no. Because, you know, I'm not getting that. They have to do with that house over there of more people that I was nice to that were not so nice to me. So, um, you know, whatever. It's just whatever, you know. Uh, this is on the inside. Now I'm all like jittery and stuff. I don't like conflict, and I got that boiling uh, temper and stuff. And I just went through some trauma on Wednesday. And today is only Friday, so I just went through all that physical trauma and anxiety, and you know I can still feel the stitches that are supposed to dissolve. I can still feel them in my face and everything. So you know, it's cool. It's It's not really a big deal. I'm just reporting how that makes me feel. How that makes me feel jittery, and I know it's like repressed rage, and yeah, I've had a lot of anxiety lately, obviously. So it's all good. Um, I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye. See, handshaking a little bit.